Today, I'm only reading books about books, which may sound like a dream, but I have this feeling that it might go very wrong. Because every reader says we love books about books, but the real question is, do we really? Do we really love books about books? Or do we just like the idea of them? So I picked 3 very different books that are about books. There is one that leans more on the magical, whimsical, cozy side, one that's super meta and self-aware, and one that's way more realistic to our everyday life. And by the end of this, I want to figure out which one actually made me feel something, and which ones felt like they were just trying to impress me. Now, I will be ranking these from first, second to third place. Hi besties, what's up? My name is Meg. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. As I just said, I'm ready to read some books about books. How about you? Let me introduce them to you. So first off, we are going to be reading The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. This is giving energy of hidden bookshop, magical realism, and books can change lives kind of deal. Next up, we have The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clarke. This one is very self-aware and it knows that it is a book about books. And lastly, we will be reading The Bookstore Diaries by Suzanne Mallory. And this is more grounded, more of like an actual bookstore vibe with less fantasy and more reality. So basically magic, meta and self-aware, and reality. So why don't we get right on into this video? So to start off, I'm starting off with The Lost Bookshop. I feel like this is the most romanticized version of loving books. This can be either really comforting or it could borderline corny depending on how much it leans into the like books can change lives kind of deal. Like if it really tunes into that a lot, then maybe this book may be too corny. So why don't we get started with reading The Lost Bookshop. Okay, so we are only 5 chapters into The Lost Bookshop, and starting out with what's going on is that it's a book that follows 3 different point of views, 2 of which are in the same timeline, and then one of which is the bookshop's her own timeline. Basically, we're getting not only the bookshop owner's timeline, but we're getting what I could presume to be almost like a love story between 2 characters named Martha and Henry, and then our bookshop owner, whose point of view we are getting is Evelyn. And right now, I can see the whimsical aspect of it. I definitely like the fact that something that all 3 of them have in common is, in their own way, shape, and form, they are an outcast in their social circle. That could be family, that could be friends, and it's very interesting to see, especially when Henry and Martha are first interacting. Like, I don't know, there is just something really cool, I guess, about it. I don't know. I can definitely see this possibly being a cozy shop about books. It's very whimsical and magical. I'm just so curious as how it's going to be a Lost Bookshop. So we are now that far into the book. We are 107 pages into The Lost Bookshop, and I can definitely feel like the whimsical, cozy vibes. One thing that is kind of like off-putting is the fact that it's written in like, I want to say like British English, where a lot of words aren't the way that we're used to seeing. I'm having fun, and I can feel the romance that is going to be a subplot. One thing that I'm not sure if I like or dislike is the fact that it's a past-present timeline with different POVs. So present timeline is Martha and Henry, past timeline is Evelyn, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. not sure how I feel about that. Okay, hi, hello, good morning. So yesterday I got through to chapter 16, like we ended on chapter 16. We are going to continue the Lost Bookshop. So far, as of right now, I want to do kind of like, what do I think of this book so far? I'm unsure how I'm liking the possible romance that's blossoming between our two main characters, Martha and Henry, but something that I really do enjoy is the perspective of Evelyn and everything that she's going through in order to create this Lost Bookshop. I want to say that for our first book about books, that this is a good whimsical start. I don't necessarily think that this was my most anticipated read between the three of those books. We are now that far into the book. We have about 228 pages left for us to go in the book. Okay, so we are now a little bit more than halfway into the Lost Bookshop. This really leans into that magical, sentimental aspect of books, and it has somewhat of a mystery to it, which is honestly kind of surprising. I really didn't expect much to be there of a mystery of like finding the bookshop. I just kind of assumed that you would like come across the bookshop as like just coming along, you know? I like our romance that is blossoming between Martha and Henry. I found we're at that point where a bump in the relationship has come. They're not technically a thing, but something there is a brewing. I actually cannot tell if I'm emotionally invested in this or if I just like what the book represents. I just don't know. Like, I don't know. However, this book does take place in Dublin, and when I think of Dublin, I think of The Boys at Tommen. I can't tell if I'm emotionally invested in this book or if I just like it because it's a book about books. Like, the main character, Martha, is reading normal people, but she does go in and say how she likes feeling like a fly on the wall into somebody else's life. And that's something that sticks with me so much because I think that's why I love to read, because I love knowing that there are stories out there where people, even in fantasy books, that like there's trauma and there's things that you overcome and you get through and you come out better on the other side. I'm liking this book, but I'm unsure if I'm like emotionally invested. Right now, I have nothing to compare this to, whereas the next two books, I have something to compare it to. Okay, so I only have 10 pages left of The Lost Bookshop. As I've been reading it, I've gotten more and more invested into this story. Do I feel emotionally attached? I don't think so. However, I am enthralled by the story and the plot. However, the plot twist was predictable. I saw it coming. For some reason, I just knew. If you've read this book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There were easy pick-upable cues that were like, yep, 100% got that, understood. I'm gonna finish this book and then we are going to talk about it. Okay, so we just finished. I like this book and it feels a lot like escapism, and it's a great way to find yourself lost within books. I liked parts of it, but I'm still not fully convinced that this is one of the best ways to write about books. It was a little predictable, so that I would have liked to have been kind of surprised a little bit more. I'm excited to see how this book puts up a fight against this book. When we start tomorrow, the ending writes itself. Okay, hi, hello, good morning. I woke up with a really bad migraine, so we're gonna see how much we can actually read of the ending writes itself. All right, here is where our comparisons will start. This is about an author who dies mysteriously, and there are 6 other writers that the publishing company has decided that they want to have them ghostwrite the ending for this book by Arthur Fletch. And I was opening it, and a quote by said author is, "He who holds the pen tells the truth." Wow, we get a once upon a time. Wow. Hello and good morning. So yesterday I read a couple chapters in The Ending Writes Itself. I got 30 pages in. I had such a bad migraine yesterday that reading just was not on the agenda. So we are reading today. Hopefully we can finish this book. Where I'm at right now is we are slowly being introduced to all of the authors in which are at this writing retreat. Their favorite author, Arthur Fletch, I have to like really enunciate all those words, is hosting. They're kind of sizing up their competition. So far, from what it sounds like, we have a thriller writer, we have crime writer, a sci-fi, a horror, a young adult, and a romance. Now, one of these authors is actually a writing duo, which are a married husband and wife, and they go through a pen name. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so far we are that far into the book. We are 80 pages into The Ending Writes Itself. And for a book that knows that it's about books, is really self-aware. These authors that have come to this writing retreat to write the ending to a series of one of the best authors out there. It's so different than The Lost Bookshop. The Lost Bookshop was more so very intent on telling you a story of how a certain book came to be, mostly a certain bookshop came to be, and how one could find this lost bookshop. Whereas The Ending Writes Itself is about authors who are explaining a little bit about the publishing industry, the editors, the agents, everything about it. It's talking so much about what goes behind a good story. Now, I'm loving this book a lot. I'm not sure how it's supposed to end. They're just told that the author, Arthur Fletch, is dead. That it hasn't even been released to the public yet because they want to keep it quiet because he has written a final book. However, the book doesn't have the ending. And then, like, that's the end of it. Like, so far, we've gotten really good glances into our horror author, our sci-fi author, the young adult author, the thriller writer duo, who I guess is a married couple, and how they're going through some issues right now. That there's just so much drama, it feels like, in this book. So I'm very curious as to who will supposedly win this book deal at the very end, who finishes writing Arthur Fletch's book, and then who ends up getting a 3-book deal through their publisher. I'm liking the writing a lot. I think that to have all of these moving pieces, especially with different points of view, I think is a little difficult. We have 257 pages left for us to go. I think this is a book that we could easily finish today. So I'm gonna keep reading and I'll let you know what I think when we get to be about halfway. Okay, y'all. So We are now that far into the book. I want to say that we're about halfway. We have 180 pages left for us to go. I think it's time for like our midway check-in. So this book is definitely aware of the book tropes that are within a mystery, thriller, suspense, I assume that this would be, especially when it includes like excerpts of things that the authors have written, and one of the authors is a horror author, and he goes into the tropes that horror books have. They are the let's split up, the unkillable killer, behold the final girl, and never trust technology. It's aware of tropes that are used within certain books. I think is very cool, but also at the same time, it's like, should this book be really that aware of things? Granted, I know that this is supposed to be a book about writing and the publishing industry and everything like that, but I can't help but wonder, is there anything that we are going to be left to question? Right now, I'm about halfway through. Okay, so we only have 108 pages left for us to go of the ending writes itself. Now, I wasn't sure how this book was gonna go, and I finally found out. And boy, oh boy, this is so good. I am devouring this book. When I first started this book yesterday and I was only a few pages in, I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy this book. Boy, oh boy, am I enjoying this book. I haven't read like a mystery thriller in a while, and this just like solidified why I loved reading mystery thriller when I first started reading. I have a feeling that I'm going to be ranking this book higher. I'm genuinely loving it. So we just finished The Ending Writes Itself. Now, this book is definitely structurally more based on the plot driven, whereas I feel like The Lost Bookshop was driven mostly by emotion. The Lost Bookshop honestly gave you threads of information, and I could easily pull them together and see the image clearly as to what the author was trying to put together. Whereas with The Ending Writes Itself, I was constantly guessing. I had no idea what was happening. I was so baffled by the plot twist. Honestly, for this being like a mystery thriller, I really enjoyed this. It was just so good. I had so much fun with it. So now that I've read these two, I'm left wondering if maybe in some way, shape, or form, in order to have a perfect book about books, you have to have the right amount of emotion with the right amount of plot to make it structurally sound. Now, that only leaves us with the Bookstore Diaries, and I honestly can't wait to see what this one holds in store, but we'll be getting to this tomorrow. I can't wait to see if both of what I found in The Lost Bookshop and The Ending Writes Itself is exactly what the Bookstore Diaries has in order to make it the perfect formula for what a book should be about when it's about books. Okay, lovely people. We are on to the third and final book, which is The Bookstore Diaries. With The Bookstore Diaries, this is supposed to be a little bit more of realistic fiction, along with the known that it is a book about books. Let's get into this book, shall we? Okay, so we are 64 pages into the Bookstore Diaries. As of right now, this feels a lot more grounded than the first two. There's no magic. There's no knowledge that it is a book about books. It is just a life surrounded by books. Our main character is the owner of a bookstore, and in this bookstore, there are a bunch of diaries, but we're that far into the book, so not too far. So far, I'm enjoying it. I definitely wasn't expecting this to be anything really super out of the ordinary. I feel like this could potentially be like a good blend of both sets of books, but I am really just unsure. So, all right, besties. So we are officially about a little over halfway through the Bookstore Diaries. Now, this is interesting to me because between the other two books, this book feels the most like just living life with books being around you, not necessarily the idea of books being the main focus. In the Lost Bookshop, it was looking for a lost manuscript and obviously a lost bookshop. The writing ends itself. The ending writes itself is obviously authors writing an ending to a book, somebody's livelihood. This book is just how someone who owns a bookstore has so much drama going on in her life. Her ex is doing things he shouldn't be doing. She's getting into the dating pool. She's worried about her sister. Her sister's trying to figure out her life. Like, there's just so much of the complexity of life just being life put into this book. It's a very cute read. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I wouldn't say that this is anything like, whoa, this is groundbreaking, but like, it's still a pretty cute story, I have to admit. And weirdly, this might be the one that just feels the most real out of all three of them. Honestly, I'm devouring this. The drama feels so much like a reality TV show. It's so good. We have 162 pages left of this book to go. Hi! So it's been a couple days, honestly, since I've read, and we are that far of the way through. We are 105 pages away from finishing the Bookstore Diaries. Now, I don't remember my last check-in. However, where I'm at in the book, I'm liking the story. I'm liking the drama. I'm living for it. However, it advertises that they have to read these diaries that are kept in the bookstore. And that is like the most minuscule thing that has happened in this book compared to everything else that has been surrounding these two sisters. And honestly, it's kind of frustrating because this book advertised that it was mostly about these secrets that were kept in these diaries. Now we're barely getting anything about those diaries and we're getting more drama than we were bargaining for. I am just very frustrated by the fact that I was told that this book was going to be about like reading diaries that were kept in the bookstore, and yet here we are and we're just reading about drama between two sisters and their lives. Trust me, like drama, reality TV drama right here. Train wreck type drama. Everything about this book is not what I was expecting. We're 105 pages away from finishing, and really, we only know about one diary that's been read. Okay, y'all, so we just finished the Bookstore Diaries. Honestly, I think this book proved that books about books, magical or suspenseful to work, it could be just a normal life filled with drama, and so much drama had happened. I liked the happily ever after, and things were great. And honestly, this book just gave the right amount of, you just need to learn to care about the people you have in your life and be grateful for those that you come to trust and those that you can see being there for you all the time. All right, y'all. So I think it's finally time we did our awards based on the amount of books being about books, about everything of how it stuck to the plot line that was given in the synopsis of the book. I think we're going to give the Bookstore Diaries last place. I think I'm giving this a 2.75 stars. This book was definitely one for the aspect of just having your life surrounded by books, but it never really stuck to what was advertised in the book. Honestly, out of everything that this book gave, I was very disappointed when the book had promised so much of reading about Bookstore Diaries to figuring things out. Next up, in second place, we have The Lost Bookshop. I gave this book 3 stars. I thought that it stuck to the plot line. I thought that the book itself was great. I loved the magical aspects of it. I loved the romance that blossomed in this. I think that this book was well executed. And if you're looking for a cozy, fun little book about books, I definitely recommend The Lost Bookshop. And in first place, which surprises no one, we have The Ending Writes Itself at a 4.5. I loved this book the most, and I think it's because while the book was self-aware about it being about books, it brought in that thrill aspect, the unknown of everything. I was constantly wondering where the book was gonna go. I wasn't sure what turns it was gonna make. I constantly wanted to know. I enjoyed this book so much, and I can't recommend this book enough. I had so much fun with this book. Anyways, for our final takeaway, I think that books about books aren't the ones constantly reminding you how powerful books are. They're just the ones that are trying to make you feel something. Well, not trying too hard. Anyways, that is all that I have for this video of books about books. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Do all of the YouTube things you know how to do, and I will see you in a bit. Bye!